Okay, well, thank you for coming this afternoon, everybody. We are going to do a panel about web series. These people here all represent different web series, so we're going to go down the line. There's a big panel here, and people are going to introduce themselves and tell you what production they're involved with. So we'll start with Angela.
My name is Angela Arrow, and I am with Guardians of Akernon.
My name is Paul Best, and I'm the owner of Wolfshead Productions, the production company behind Guardians of Akernon.
Hi, I'm Anna Julia. And I'm associate producer and assistant director on Causality.
I'm Rob Fontaine. I'm the producer and director of Causality.
I'm Justine Hoy, and I'm a producer on Glitch, and I also act in the website.
Okay, my name is Mary Higgins, and I have a web series called My Brain's Darling that I co-produced with Paul there.
I'm Joanna Gaskell, and I talk to them. I'm the writer and producer and an actor on Standard Action.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Gimnes. I'm the associate producer, costume designer, and marketing and PR manager for Standard Action. I show up in like 2 episodes too. We all wear many hats.
Yes, absolutely. So what we're going to do first is show some brief teasers from each of the web series, and then we're going to talk about what it's like to create an independent web series on the West Coast, the challenges we face, and we'd love to hear from you as well for the questions that you have for the creators who are here today. Okay, so we're going to run the clips now. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those little tasters of the web series that are represented here today. As you can see, there's a wide range of web series out there. So we're going to talk a little bit first about the space, and then if people have questions, please put your hands up and we can talk to them. You can ask them during the panel, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. Okay, so it's a little bit awkward to go up and down the line, but we're going to do that. So first of all, I'd like to know from the panel is how they got into the web series space in the first place. Okay, so we're going to start with Vanessa this time, just because Angela thought she was going first.
You were putting me on the spot.
How did we get into the show that we're on now?
How did you get into the web series space? How did you get into the web series space to begin with?
Okay, mine sort of, I think mine was just sort of a happy accident. I was always aware of web series and watched a lot of web series from very early on. In 2004, 2005, I was watching stuff online. I was working in the film industry here and met Rob, our director, on set for a different TV show. And he started talking about some stuff he was working on and gave me his card, and I looked at his clip, and I saw that teaser trailer, which is known as episode 0 or episode 6.5, and I was hooked. In the first 10 seconds, I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. I will do whatever I can to get involved with these people. So I was always on the outside, so this is probably the first and biggest web series job or role I had.
Okay, I've worked on a lot of independent stuff. Rob over there, who's our director for Standard Action, also I worked with him on a couple of independent features. And I never did any producing, but after we finished those, it was so much fun that I thought, okay, I'm going to produce my own thing. But the problem with a movie is it's a huge amount of work before you see a finished product. Like you film and you film and you film and you edit. And finally, eventually, it'll all come together into a feature, and that's fantastic. But I thought, okay, I want to write something that I like, but I want to release it now. I want to release it so people can see it a couple of months after I'm finished filming. I want to go. I want it to be available. I want people to be able to see my work. And so I decided to put my ideas into a web series format instead of a feature.
Okay, well, I came into web series about 3 years ago through Dr. Horrible. I did a companion web series. I was a writer already, and like Vanessa, I wanted my work to be seen more widely and quickly. So as soon as Dr. Horrible came out, I did a parallel 6-part series tracking his application through Dr. Horrible's application through the Evil League of Evil, set in the Evil League of Evil's application processing office. because I've done a lot of admin jobs in my time, and they're pretty evil places. So, and from there, it really captured my imagination. I got a really good response. We did a drama web series last year called Goodnight Princess, which was also really well received. And we have a very unique film technique. You saw on the trailer there, you couldn't see any heads. That's a new technique that we've developed we've called it body line. And we wanted to see how far we could develop it.
So my background was more in writing and then transition to acting. And living in Seattle, it's a relatively small market, and I just decided that I didn't want anything to be stopping me from working or telling the kinds of stories that I wanted to tell. So I started working on them, and from that made connections with other people who were interested in doing the same thing and wanted to share their content without necessarily having to worry about marketers or distribution channels telling you how to do it.
My background is also in Los Angeles and New York as a producer and director, and as everybody probably has heard, there's such the huge machine there that if you have ideas and if you have goals, you have that whole machine you have to fight through. So when I started hearing about web series and seeing that these were things that you could do on high quality, relatively low budget, and that there's becoming an audience as audiences are moving online, I started realizing this is where I want to be, because I think this is where the future of entertainment is going. So I started trying to talk to people and find out who's doing them, and getting involved with one that I believed in, which is Causality. I think it's a great story and something that I personally am passionate about. So when people are passionate and they put it out there for others to see, once you can get it out, it's there for people like you guys to see. And you can't do that in Hollywood, you can't do it in New York, unless you are already connected with that machine. So for me, that was why I got into it.
I got into it because of Causality. I tend to watch a lot of my television online now, and it seems like watching a web series was just part of that. And I started watching a few, and then I'd taken a break from producing and acting, a very long break. And this project came up, and I was really fascinated with the story, and the fact that they were doing a web series was what drew me to it. And so now it just opened my eyes to all the really good ones out there.
I'm a babe in the woods to web series. I've spent 40 years in film and theater, and I met Mary a year ago, which was the first time I'd ever heard of web series, and I thought, it's such an exciting frontier for me that I just thought it would be a heck of a trip to get on the wave and see where it went. And so that's that, and the fact that I'm a huge fan of fantasy, and there's so little of it that's produced out there every year that I thought, well, if nothing else, I can produce something that at least I would want to watch.
Well, my performance career started actually with singing, and it was about 5 years ago that we did a music video, and I had to both be the girl in the band and play a character as well. And I kind of got hooked on the acting. So when one of the casting directors in California sent me the information on this audition for Patrina, she was a very, a strong female character, and I was drawn to that. And then when I actually got to the audition, rather unprepared, we had some email issues, so I had nothing that I needed. Luckily, Paul was patient. When I actually got a chance to read the script, it was actually only a couple days after I've been in projects that later you're like, oh man, I can put it on my resume, but maybe I don't want to. I just took it because I needed something. And I had just recently told myself I won't do anything again that I can't be proud to say that I'm in. And it was a couple days later that I found out about this audition for Border Guardians. So luckily I was only 2 days without work based on my recent promise to myself.
So because we have so many creators here and we want to get on, I'm just going to do another couple of questions for the panel, and then we have, then if you have questions as well. So one thing that is a constant struggle for most independent artists is how do you find your audience? How do you connect with them? So again, it's a bit hokey to go up and down the line, but I don't see any other way to do it. So maybe we'll start in the middle with Joey this time, just to mix it up a bit.
Okay. Wow. So this is a tricky question. I think there's a lot of different ways to build your audience, but for me the most important thing is knowing who your audience is and being able to go after that. And for us, we have some shows that we've tried to stay very true to who we're speaking to and what story we're telling, and be very true to ourselves. So Glitch is just incredibly geeky. It's 8-bit video games, and it's an ensemble cast that spends a lot of time engaged in conversations where they're throwing out references to staples in pop culture and geek culture, and very fast-paced and witty. And we knew we didn't really want to lose any of that in order to maybe appeal to a broader audience. But we really knew kind of who we were going after. And so from that, sort of the marketing tactics that we take are things like going to conventions and connecting with like-minded fans, going to gaming conventions, networking with people via that. And luckily for us, because our subject matter is, and I think a lot of us, we have some, particularly nerdy subject matter, it fits really well on the internet because that's where the viewers are for sci-fi and fantasy and gaming. So that's just kind of how we're doing it at this point. It's really just an organic process of just going where that audience is and being part of that audience as well, because we're making it for ourselves just as much as someone else. We're not making the show in order to turn a profit for a network, so we're able to just be.
I think Joey hit a lot of it on the head. For Causality, it's been the same. I mean, we started with the concept, we're all science fiction fans, and specifically we're motivated by, or inspired by a few specific shows. The sort of darker, grittier, more real, character-driven shows are what we are inspired by. So that's what we wanted to create. We figured that if we can create a show that, although it's science fiction, it's not so much, it's not about space, it's not about, there's effects, but there's not a ton of effects. So what we want to do is be able to engage an audience based on our characters. And kind of like you said, a lot of the fans of the kind of things we're into, people are online. So first of all, it's a good place to put the show, and second of all, it's a place to find them. So we've been active on Twitter. I think has been really good to us, and it's how we met all of these people here. It's the reason we're here today. And between Twitter and Facebook and going to, this is our first convention for Causality actually, but we plan to do a lot more of it. I think that's the way to get to the audiences that are going to actually appreciate the material we're putting out. And we're the same as your show. Like, we don't want to just pander to an audience that's large the way a network might. We want to get a small, devoted following more so than millions of viewers. Now, if we can get millions, great, but we'd much rather a small, sort of devoted audience that really gets the material that's interested in it. And I think that Twitter, online, Facebook, conventions, that's where to find people that are like that.
I mean, I guess really don't have anything else to add to that. I mean, it seems like everything's kind of been said between the two of you. Unless you guys.
As a marketing manager at Standard Action, this is sort of a forte, and social media has been huge for us, but it's a lot of, the con circuit has been amazing. We've had panels on some of the biggest cons in North America this year. We've been at PAX, Polaris, Stanix, for all those, and we've screened at probably half a dozen more. We've screened at Gen Con, Indie, and stuff. So the con circuit's been good, but blanketing the internet as much as you can, and it's been a lot of just introducing myself to everybody I meet. Like, I never stop promoting. I work in TV and film on a lot of network TV shows and movies and stuff too. Every single person I meet, if they're at all nerdy or interested in indie stuff, I'm like, here's my card, you should watch my show. So it's a full-time job just marketing a web series, just getting the audience. And there's so many distribution channels available online. You have Blit TV, you've got Coldcast, you have YouTube, you have, then we have things like Roku Player and iTunes, and there's different aggregators like fantasywebseries.net. There's a whole bunch of places online, and all these individual little communities that don't necessarily talk to each other. So there's gaming forums, there's different blogs, there's podcasts. Anything that you can find is just never shut up about it. But don't be mean about it either. Like you can't jam it down people's throats, but at the same time, I've never stopped.
It was particularly challenging for us because with our show we set about creating three-dimensional female leads, which is something somewhat rare in fantasy, and that attracts, our demographics are 35 to 55, 60-year-old females. And they're not very chatty on Twitter. They play Farmville, and they're on Facebook. And so it's been a real challenge for us to reach that market. When we reach them, they love it. But it's been very difficult for us to use some of the avenues that some shows have been able to succeed that are attracting a much younger, more... the first time I was on Twitter was April. Because I hired a consultant.
What I think is interesting is you actually were the one that mentioned to me that we've been quiet on Twitter lately. Like, people notice. Like, we develop these friendships and these groups of people who know about you and what you're doing, and they notice when you're gone for a little bit, and they say, "What's going on?" Like, and to me, it's been a great sense of community to become part of this, because there's so many creators out there that are making entertainment that I want to watch. And I think it's exciting to be part of that, and hopefully I'm making something that they want to watch, and then we all spread the word for one another, and it really builds the audience for everything.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, Ralph. And social media has played a big part in all the web series success, the big ones. So I want to just put it out to the audience now. Who watches web series or has ever watched a web series?
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you. You guys are what keep us alive.
Thank you. Yeah. And actually that is really surprising, because when we talk to people, I'm sure everybody on the panel will agree, people in the street, if you stop and ask them, have you ever seen a web series? Usually the first thing they say is, what's a web series? And although it seems like a self-explanatory term, people don't know what a web series is, and they have not got a concept of that. So it's really nice to know that there's so many people who know what a web series is.
Something else I want to mention on that is people sometimes who do know about web series and haven't really watched them, they may have a misperception that they're amateurish. And being on a panel and seeing all your guys' shows, like, I'm constantly impressed with the level of quality that's out there. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff that's not high quality, but you can find really, really high quality stuff online, and a lot of people don't realize that. And that's what we're trying to do, I think, is get the word out about that.
Absolutely. And as Vanessa said before, there's many ways that you can watch web series. There's aggregators like Blip and Callcast, but there's also, you can use your Xbox to watch web series. You can use your Wii to watch YouTube videos, but people don't necessarily associate those things with watching web series. They think that maybe it's all only on YouTube, and that's not the case. In fact, many web series barely go on YouTube at all, because it's very difficult to get above the cat videos that are on there, which are so incredibly popular, and who doesn't like a cat video? But it's very hard to create a more professional image of yourself if that's what you're up against, really. So we'll do one more question for the panel, and then if anybody, do people have questions? Yeah. Okay. So we'll do one more question for the panel, then we'll hand it over to you. Okay. So. This is a biggie. How do you think web series are going to support themselves in the future? Because money is the big issue. Or is money the big issue? It is where I'm standing, but maybe it isn't. Vanessa.
Oh gosh. Well, we're facing just like every other web series. We're doing a lot of crowdfunding, and we're facing the very real possibility that there won't be a second season of Standard Action because we don't have the funding. Entirely self-funded the first season, which is pretty unheard of. And we also, unlike a lot of web series, we paid not full wages, but we did pay some of our current cast, all of the current cast. Most of our money was spent on people. And so that's the money that determines our future. And I think the Hollywood industry doesn't really know what to do with us, and they don't know how to monetize web series because it's all available for free. So why should they give you any money? And I think it's going to start working into where you're going to start getting, I think, a lot more product placement in the shows themselves, and that will possibly be worked into the script, hopefully with a little more subtlety and grace than a lot of the TV shows. You know, like you see, like when they start explaining why they drive a Toyota Prius in like Bones or something, I'm like, I don't care about this. But I think it's so hard because you can't sell advertising, or if you do get advertising, it's on banners and click-through ads where it's very minimal. So unless you have huge traffic, you're not making money. So I think that and merchandising. I think merchandising is a huge opportunity that really should be pushed for web series that I think a lot of people don't get about.
Sorry, I just have something to add to that. One thing that you can do online really nicely and really easily is value add to your content. So one thing that I'm really excited about moving forward with Standard Action is when we release DVDs, you know, you can get everything for Standard Action online, but we can add things like, you know, extra content that you can get online. Pay a little more and you get a little more. Pay a lot more and you get a lot more. You can have all sorts of digital content available online. It doesn't cost me anything in terms of having to have a warehouse full of merchandise out back. So I can offer more to the fans, and if they're willing to pay for it, it's amazing how many people will be willing to support what they love. I mean, if they want to see blooper reels, pay an extra $5. I mean, I think that's a really great option. There's actually been some large who was it? Was a big band that did that. Wasn't it CD with value-added content?
Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, Nine Inch Nails.
Radiohead,
Yeah, who will offer a wide range of different products with all sorts of different value-added content. I think that's a great way to go.
Joey, I'll pass it over to you. How are you?
In terms of funding, in various shows I've kind of been approaching different avenues. So in Glitch, we're going currently self-funded, but we'll be actively seeking funding and potentially partnerships in corporate settings. But we're very cognizant of the fact that we don't want that to influence our writing or what we talk about. We don't want to have to give a plug towards a particular game or a particular TV show because we really want our characters to be true to themselves, and since they're all very sarcastic, we can't really be beholden to anybody in particular. On other shows, it's probably going to be much more self-funded, and we're going to be doing things like straight value add and merchandising and other things because the audience is much more niche potentially, and we just really want to be protective of the content.
I think this is a topic that we could probably have a full day panel about. We could talk for hours and hours because we've all explored so many different options and so many different things that work and don't work. And you know, we've done some of that for Causality. We initially looked into some product placement, but we were told with our show that it's not the type of show. It's not a comedy. It's not based entirely in the world we live in. So products are not going to be as easily, you know, just put in. And it's not exactly. Because we're a time travel show, so you know it's not always going to make sense. So we've also looked into corporate sponsorships, and that's something that what we've been told is you can't do that for season 1 because they want to see your audience level, they want to see the response someone has. So for season 1, we're going to pretty much have to crowdfund and self-fund, and then if we do well, maybe season 2 we can re-explore the corporate sponsorship thing. But it really does come down to fan support. It comes down to merchandising, which we're starting to get into. And again, that's all about building the audience because it's not some corporation that's going to buy our T-shirts or whatever, or stickers. It's people that like the show and want to, you know, help us promote it. So it's about creating that community, however you do it, and then selling merchandise or doing the crowdfunding, however you choose. But that's pretty much where we are right now, and we're looking for more options every day.
I was just going to add what you were saying about the marketing, where it's constant marketing. I think that applies to fundraising. It's just it's a constant thing you have to be thinking about and keeping your options open, possibilities, and where it could come from.
And it's really difficult as an artist to ask people for money. And especially being, well, I'm not going to use but I know a lot of Canadians, if you have that further added, you know, like, it's really difficult for me to ask people point blank to donate money to this passion project or to this, you know, something that's so into. It's really difficult. So there's that added there.
Our, because it's high fantasy and our production costs for costumes and boots and swords and everything else are so high that, at least from what I've observed, most successful crowdfunding campaigns tend to be kind of a drop in the bucket for us. So we didn't even examine that possibility. We self-funded season 1. And we probably won't look at crowdfunding for season 2 as well for the same reason. So we'll be looking for a corporate sponsor who is an online presence and therefore needs to advertise online. And so we're hoping to marry up with someone like that for next season. Otherwise, enjoy it.
Thank you, everybody. So should we take some questions then? Yes?
None of you have mentioned Sanctuary, which is the big success here in Canada for web series. Have any of you looked at network, at actually moving your series from the web to the network?
I think, well, speaking for myself, I would absolutely love if a network will pick up my show. I think it's unlikely at this stage, but I think other people on the panel probably, I don't know, would you say if...
Most of the networks won't look at you unless you have a minimum amount of views online. Reese, the web series, they were actually supposed to be here, but they had to go, the director, but he was actually filming another project today. They got rescheduled. And nobody would even acknowledge them until they had over 1 million views already. And that's when they started talking about sci-fi. The thing with networks and pitching is that if you don't already have your foot in the door with a reputable producer, they're not going to give you time of day. So, I mean, we have explored looking at going to networks and stuff, but it's really hard, and especially for very niche shows, for very genre shows. I mean, you can approach space or sci-fi or even live TV, but
You
it's...
can approach producers too.
Yeah.
They're not, they have the doors open to their money.
Yeah, I mean, finding producers though, like, it's all about who you know. So it's one of those things, that the more people you know, the more avenues open up. The other thing that we had concern with networking is, or with pitching to a network, is then it becomes exclusive. And we like keeping it open and being able to broadcast on multiple channels and platforms.
Yeah.
So once the network owns it, you relinquish a lot of control.
Yeah.
The deal you make with the network.
Yeah, we would love to know more, but
Some of the Canadian producers make deals where the Canadian networks own domestic distribution, and the producer here would own international.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that's very interesting. So the rest of the panel, presumably, if a network, if you pitch to the network successfully, you would allow your show to be shown on TV?
Absolutely. If somebody offered us costs and a little profit, we'd move on to the next project.
Yeah. And I think one of the things is that, sorry, Ralph, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is that, I mean, personally, I think web series are a valid thing in themselves, and if I could get onto TV with it, that would be great. But that isn't why I'm making a web series. It's because I want to make a web series, not I want to get into TV. But obviously, if somebody was going to pay me, then yes, you can put it on TV.
I think most of us just want to be self-sustaining. I don't think that any of us are looking to make a big profit or to get on. We're not. I don't believe this panel, anyway, is looking to use it as a stepping stone for career advancements or TV. But it has to become self-sustaining. Otherwise, you just can't continue to do it.
Well, I said earlier, I really believe that online entertainment is the future of entertainment. The way things are moving with both network material and independent material. And part of the reason I really want to be part of it is because since that's what I believe, I think to be part of it early on, hopefully I'm learning and hopefully on the cutting edge with all these other people who are, like right now the question is, really television and movies are the only valid forms of entertainment because those are the only things that are sustaining people with, incomes that they can live on and things like that. But I believe in the future somehow, I don't know exactly how yet, but somehow that is going to happen with online entertainment. And it may be that networks take over and they buy up all the web series that are worthwhile, and they just have an online web series presence. But what I'm hoping is that it becomes more self-sustaining with independent producers, the way all of us are doing this.
Well,
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing. I remember, and I would love to get on a network. I do conventional work too. But one of the things that Mary said to me actually when I first met her is she was saying that she has a family, and as a woman with a family, this is one of the ways that she could pursue her creative career at this point in her life, and still be able to do all of the other things she wants to do. And for me, that's something with web series that just really strikes a chord with me, is that while I can go through a more traditional path, I can also I don't have to wait. I can do all of the things that are important to me now and still tell a story that I really fundamentally believe in without having to put the rest of my life on hold. Not that it's not a tremendous amount of work, but... No, it's just that I'm not so much beholden to somebody else's schedule, if that makes any sense. It's a huge, tremendous amount of work. Oh, it's work, but when you get a big group of people, there are a lot of people that we can include in our development process that we wouldn't necessarily have been able to include otherwise because they have to have a day job. I live in Seattle, which is not a huge film market, so the film market we do have spends a lot of time on corporate videos for Microsoft and Boeing. So, but we can get a lot of people who couldn't necessarily quit their job, move to California, and start over. We might be at a later stage in life, we might have children or families we have to support or just other obligations, and this allows us to continue to pursue what we love. Whether we're going to try to make that leap or not, we don't have to wait for it.
okay, so we have about 10 minutes left on the panel, so I'd like to get through some more questions if we can. The lady there, sorry. So the lady behind, the little girl, the young lady there, can we come to you in 1 second because the lady behind you had her hand up first?
Sorry. I was wondering, I have two questions actually. One is, have you tried crowdsourcing work? Because one of the things that startup, technology startups are doing, which is the other hat that I wear, is crowdsourcing a lot of the back-end stuff. And it was a surprisingly good effect. Using mechanical Turk, for example, I don't know if that would be very appropriate in this context, but you can get a lot done.
Yes.
So that's one question. Have you used any crowdsourcing work? The other thing is, I was thinking as you're talking about ways that other similar to creative industry ventures self-fund, and I was thinking that might be a band. Do you, I know that there are film, for international film festivals and is there anything like that for web series? And if so, how widespread is the phenomenon? And if it's not widespread, has anyone just tried touring, showings, and oh my God, so-and-so's in town?
Okay, they're very in-depth questions. So I'm going to summarize, if that's okay. And we'll just go quickly coming down the panel for the crowdsourcing. I'll start with me because we did crowdsource for season 1 of My Brains. We went on Indiegogo. We reached our target quite quickly. It was a very modest target. But yes, so we did do crowdfunding.
Do you mean by just a quick?
Like free camp.
Do you mean like a crowdsource for labor, not for funding?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, right, sorry.
Okay.
And we did that too. So.
You want to do that? I don't really know what the question is.
No, we didn't do crowdsourcing for labor, I guess.
We had really specific people in really specific roles, and we've had mixed results from Craigslist, but a lot of it's networking with we posted auditions on a lot of the main sites in Vancouver, like Vancouver Actors Guide, Casting Work, and stuff like that. But as far as crowdsourcing labor, a lot of times our turnaround is really fast and really tight, or we have one day to shoot 11 pages, and if somebody doesn't show up, we're screwed. So there's a lot more higher stakes, and there's a lot more trust that's needed. So I don't know that for our production specifically we could do that, just because there's been times where if I don't hear from you in half an hour, this is happening. This is the choice I'm going to be making for this whatever. So I don't think we move too quickly, and there's too much involved, I think, to do that.
Okay, has anybody else crowdsourced?
We haven't yet, but one of the things we've talked about is crowdsourcing is most effective, in my opinion, when you actually crowdsource for a specific thing. Rather than saying, please pay for season 1 of Causality, we need a Steadicam rig. It costs X amount of dollars. This is our campaign. So that's what we plan to do, is we have specific items that we want or that we need in our production, and we plan to put those up for an amount of time, hopefully get the money for them and move on to the next thing. It's a challenge to do it that way because then you have to wait in between and you can't use those things if you don't have them. But I feel like that's at least something tangible an audience can wrap their heads around rather than just pay for my show. And that works too, but I feel like that's just harder to get people to understand.
I got nothing.
Well, for the second part of your question, I'm just going to answer that for you. There are two award ceremonies for web series. There used to be the Webbies, and they still do it, but it's not focused on web series. There's the Streamies that have had two, and they will be doing another Streamies next year. And there's also the International Academy of Web Television will be hosting their first award show at the CES in January, is it? Yeah, next year. Okay. But there's no web series film festival circuit as such, but people do show their web series at film festivals. Oh, are there?
Web series festivals.
Oh, actually, there's one in England.
There's one in England, there's
Yeah.
one in New York. But they're very small and they're very much a lot of the same circle of people. So it's getting bigger, but it's very much in the infancy stage.
Okay. So,
Which
My last part of my question was, does anyone just try touring and the film festival? Just like so-and-so's in town.
no.
we've entered several film festivals and won awards. Is that your question?
Have you toured? Have you toured with
Touring?
Like how a band does, just show up.
No.
No.
If there were booking agents, maybe I would.
Yeah, no, we toured around to conventions as close as we got. Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem with that is when you tour, now you're back to that broad audience, and a lot of us have very niche shows. So, I mean, we may find an audience, but at what cost? How much does it cost to actually go on tour and try to take it out there? And I think as far as touring goes, maybe conventions and things like that, where the audience is brought to you, is more practical.
Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. I'll come to you in 1 second, but this young lady here did have a question.
Do you need any special software on your computer to load video onto the internet?
Okay, well, you don't need any special software in one way, because if you have a YouTube account and you have produced a video, you can just upload that video directly to YouTube. Okay, so you don't need any software. As long as you can make the video in the first place, you can get it onto YouTube. Okay, so.
But actually making the video, you do have to have.
Yeah, the video itself, you
So
need
like
some.
editing it together, but just out there, no.
Yeah, yeah.
I would quickly add that we tried outsourcing labor on Craigslist for a movie set that I shot inside of a house, and it's kind of dangerous because somebody's made off with our laptop and our video game system and a bunch of our games. So that's something to be very concerned about. We just have strangers run in and do something quick and leave your house. One of them could break off. But my actual question is, I was wondering if you guys could go through and answer web series out there. Who do you think is doing it right? Who do you think are like some of the best examples to maybe emulate? And I know you guys have niche audiences, so maybe like if you say College Humor, that's like not a good example because they're very specific to their niche, but maybe their business model or how they've grown.
Clearly, all of us here.
Well, that's a really good question. We'll just go quickly down the panel.
Well, I think it really depends on what you mean by success, right? I think probably what I mean by success is what a lot of people were saying down here, which is self-sustaining and self-supporting. And one of the most important things to me on this project was to be able to reward the people who are working with me. So as far as I'm concerned, if you are producing content and you can pay the people who work with you and they don't have to work 80 hours a week in order to produce that content, that's success as far as I'm concerned. I mean, personal taste, there's a whole lot of web series out there that I like to watch.
I am kind of going towards there too, personal taste. Like what inspires you guys? You obviously are storytellers, you want to tell a story. Who's done it right?
Okay, well, that is a good, tricky question, and I don't want to say the Guild because everybody's going to say the Guild, but obviously Felicia got it right. Felicia Day and the Guild got it right. She was at the right place at the right time. She was in Dr. Horrible. She's marketed extremely well. She's very personal. She's put herself out there, and she has done a fantastic job in marketing and producing a really good web series as well. And she's just head and shoulders above everybody else, in my opinion.
Sure. Again, it's a lot of personal taste. There's a lot out there, but somebody mentioned Sanctuary earlier. I mean, they got high quality and then they got noticed, which is great. I think Reese is another one. I was actually looking forward to meeting them. Sorry they couldn't make it, but Reese did a very good job, and I think they got picked up by Sci-Fi.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So yeah, those are two that I can think of off the top of my head, and they're sci-fi and they're sort of futuristic, a little bit like we are. So.
Just because it's such a huge range of tastes, the only thing I try to judge a web series on is their production value. Can you hear them? Can you see the image? Can you understand what the actors are saying? And there's a lot of very good ones out there. There's some that you can't hear them and you can't see them. But yeah, it's kind of a treasure hunt, and it's kind of exciting to find the good ones, but there's too many of them.
We are going to have to wrap up. Thank you very much for coming. And now we're hoping we will have another, at VCON next year, we'll have another panel. I don't know if they do longer panels because there's so much content we want to get through. I mean, I have a big list of things that we would like to talk about. But if we have cards here for all the shows, and if you would like to talk to us afterwards, we would be very happy to talk to you. And thank you very much for coming out and being such a great audience. No, we have been really good. It's been very nice to see everybody. Thank you.
And if you have any questions for any of us, I'm sure we'd be more than happy to talk to you one-on-one.
Yeah, we'll be outside, so we'll be happy to talk to anybody. Okay, thank you very much.